You heard the importance of mewing, the effects of mewing on your face, right? This is the foundation, and it absolutely works. If you're not doing it, like, it's your fault. Now I got this out of the way. Mewing, of course, is not the thing that is gonna save us and make us all attractive. Let's get to the fun stuff that you can more do. Imagine from the age of 1, everyone had to go to the gym, but no one tells you what actually to do. So you just play around with different exercises and routines. Maybe you do some cardio, maybe you do some high intensity training, anything like that. Maybe you do some calisthenics, some push ups and stuff. You basically do whatever you want to do in the gym. You notice you only build like a little bit of muscle, like a skinny, a little bit muscular physique, and you look like basic one everyone else. You get to the age you're right now, maybe you're 16 like me, and you notice being muscular is actually so much better than being like the skinny, like a little bit muscle, not really. It's so much better than being the skinny guy. And now you see a crazy muscular big bodybuilder dude in the gym, you look at him and think to yourself, oh man, it's just genetics, how can you look like this? We all train the same way, right? But that's wrong. The big muscular guy didn't just train like everyone else, he trained in a bodybuilding way his entire life. From the small age he just committed to this and did it all, just lived the natural life and basically built his physique over time doing that. And that's the reason why he looks like that right now. You think it's just genetics, but in reality you could have looked like him or maybe even better than him if you just did the same things as him and trained the same way as him and trained a bodybuilding way and built muscle. But you just didn't know about this. You just thought, I don't know, no one told you about this. No one told you how to build the muscle, right? And of course, this is just an analogy. No one told you how to become your most attractive self or your most healthiest self. Our body has specific things it expects of us, and if we don't commit to these, like right breathing, right swallowing, right chewing, right tongue posture, like habits in general, this is the foundation to facial development. And these are the forces our body expects of us to actually develop in the right way, develop to our full genetic potential. So don't be the guy who just does random exercises in the gym from small age. You get the analogy. Of course, not everyone goes to the gym at 1 years old, but you got the analogy. But let's get into it. Breathing through your nose all the time is absolutely necessary. It's basically our foundation. Even while sleeping, even while exercising, even while you like go on the bus, even I don't know, all the time. Except for when you really can't. Like when your nose, like even when you're sick or something, it's still better to breathe through your nose. But maybe during hard exercise, it would be still better to breathe through your nose because then you build up the capacity to breathe more through your nose. So basically, just breathe through your nose all the time, even while sleeping. And you can use a mouth tape for that. You can use like a normal mouth tape for that. This is the one that I use. You basically just take the piece, rip it apart, put it on your mouth, go to sleep, and yeah, then you can ensure, since your mouth is just lightly closed, that you will breathe through your nose. So your sleep quality will also improve doing that. If you never heard about this, it's not dangerous since your body would know that it can't breathe, and then you would wake up and you would notice, oh shit, I can't breathe, and you either rip it off your mouth or just realize you can breathe through your nose. Like, it's not dangerous at all. But now that you breathe through your nose all the time, you never breathe through your mouth. You can literally look online on like twins who develop differently, since where one did like mouth breathing and the other one just normal development through breathing through the nose. On top of that you breathe through your nose, have the correct tongue posture. This is things like mewing. Basically, it's just the tongue sucked against the upper palate. Let's say this is the palate, this is my tongue. It's basically just your tongue resting there all the time. There are people who talk about this, like specifically Mike Mew, who made it pretty popular on TikTok and Instagram and so on, and YouTube. But it's hard to understand, for at least that was the case for me, because I couldn't mew properly. I had a smaller palate, I had like tongue ties and all like restrictions, which I won't get into now. But these are things that restrict you, and I will talk about these in the future videos or in the course that I'm working on. Maybe the link is already in the description, but I want to make this the best course available for anyone at this age, like teenage years. So I'm locking in and working to make this the best thing ever. But I had the problem that I couldn't mew properly, and I didn't really knew how to do it, so I basically just took my tongue and pressed it against the roof of my mouth, which I don't know if it really made a big of a difference. I feel it makes a bigger difference if I suck it against. So here's the tips that I learned. If you want to do the suction, or first let's establish how it feels. Say like n, n, n. This is the spot where the tip of the tongue should rest. Your palate is like here, here's like your mouth. Tip of the tongue rests here. Then the second, the middle part of the tongue should rest where you say g, g. For example, you could say the word ring, ring, and you feel where the second part touches. These 2 points, now connect them. Now you have these 2 points connected. This is basically how I mewed most of the time, but I didn't know how to mew. So there is also a part that you get the back part of the tongue up, which you might still have problems putting like the front of the tongue up because you have a smaller palate and all of like different reasons. But try to do it as well. Try to put the back part up. You can just think about it like put your whole tongue up till your airway, where you breathe, where you notice you put your tongue up and you can't breathe through your nose, that the airway gets cut off. And right before the point where the airway gets cut off, you put your tongue, like not all the way, but you put it right where you feel you can still breathe through your nose, but you still have the back part of the tongue up. This is just so you establish the connection between the palate and the tongue. Also, if you have a high palate, that means you can't reach with your back of the tongue or with your tongue the upper palate, you can try doing a chin tuck, because this makes the tongue closer to the upper palate, so it might be easier to get this connection. Like you do this and then you do the things that I just said. If you now want to practice real mewing, this was just what I did. Press up, like I connected these points and then consciously pressed up. But this didn't really train me to do mewing right. Mewing right would be the suction hold. Suction, you can train suction hold doing this exercise. It's like this clicking exercise. Which you maybe did as a kid, but basically just suck against the upper palate. And if you do this exercise like 30 times every day in the morning, or like 3 times a day, like you can easily do it like more than once a day. So you train yourself how to suction and to actually better suction up. So you basically, if you do this exercise, I just pause there, then the pause where it just paused and your tongue is up is mewing. It's pretty interesting that no one really talks about it the way that I explained it. I don't really know why, because it's so much easier if you just notice. Yeah, that's mewing, easy. And maybe press the back of the tongue up if your palate isn't wide enough. So yeah, basically that's it. That's mewing. Let's get to chewing. Chewing is also very important when developing your face. Chew equally on both sides, of course, so not one side gets too big and asymmetries in your face, which definitely will look worse than if you were perfect symmetry. But yeah, chew equally, but chew tough foods like crusty breads from sourdough bread. Extra points if you do it from sourdough bread, because sourdough bread is more healthy than other breads. Steak, carrots, like those things that are tough and you have to chew a lot. These are good for building not only the masseter muscles, but basically I saw a study on Q's where they said that the strength of the masseter muscle influences facial growth, but I'm unsure about that because I back checked it and like I typed on Google is there a correlation between strength of the masseter muscle, these muscles right here, and facial development, and I didn't really found a study just for a quick Google search, but I still think there's some connection between the strength of your masseter muscles and facial growth, like forwards growth and so on. Chew food till it's absolutely liquefied. This will make the next step easier, which will be swallowing, and it also just like it's better for your digestion. It's better for nutrients that you absorb all the nutrients and all the stuff. Of course, I understand sometimes I have like 5 minutes before my bus goes to school, so I will eat like my eggs like pretty quickly, and I wouldn't like swallow. I wouldn't chew as best as I could, but just be conscious of it. All right. Then a cool point or a quick tip that is helpful for building up the tongue strength is chewing with your tongue. That means you chew with your masseter muscles, but you also always use your tongue for you chew, and while you chew, you have like food between your teeth, and this is the tongue again, and you press like against the upper palate. This makes even more stimulus against the upper palate to move forward and develop wider and basically just develop as it should be. This is like this is a normal thing that you press your tongue against the roof of your mouth to further help with chewing from the teeth. It's called tongue chewing. Like you're not chewing on your tongue with your teeth, but you get what I mean. You press up against the palate with your tongue while having food there. Swallowing. Swallowing for me took a lot of practice. No, not even that. Swallowing for me took a little bit of a practice because I did swallow wrong. You probably swallow also wrong. This is not to offend you or anything. This is just most likely, statistically speaking, like most people swallow wrong. Where you swallow doing like sucking your cheeks in, like doing this. This is the wrong way to swallow. The right way to swallow would be if you take a little bit of water or saliva in your mouth. You take the saliva with the suction. You have a suction hold. Then you're in the suction hold, right? You have the tongue up. Your saliva is like, if you just keep this suction hold right now, you will feel that saliva gets produced on the bottom, on the floor of your mouth. Now you have the suction hold. Now if you move your tongue backwards, like a piston that you think of pulling your tongue into your throat, then a small vacuum gets created which sucks the saliva back. Now you can take your tongue, which you took back, and like your tongue is movable, right? You do like the sweeping motion, pick the saliva up, put it on the end spot, which we said previously, put it on the end spot, press on this end spot hard, and then you basically just roll your tongue upwards. This will move the saliva all the way into your mouth, all the way back, right? Like, or if you have water or something, you can simply take a sip. I don't have a water bottle right now. You can simply take a sip, do this as well, and basically swallow in this way. I also realized that there is even better way to not make to untrain your habit of swallowing with your cheeks, and that's this exercise. You take some water, you smile, basically you do a cheesy smile, very very big smile. It looks like this, and then you take a swallow. This will force you that you can't use these muscles, and if you feel that you want to use these muscles, don't use them. Just use the tongue, as I told you, to sweep the water underneath above the tongue, and press up and basically swallow this way. If you do this exercise, the best thing would be in front of a mirror, so you see yourself and can actually see that you're doing it right or wrong, which muscles are being used, and you consciously focus not using any other muscles besides your tongue muscles and these muscles for swallowing. If you do these exercises that I also talked about previously, this will be your foundation. This will be the things that are very helpful, and if you follow these things, you will get a big step forward in. Yeah, so this was everything. Now, if you do all these exercises that I talked about and basically build this as your foundation and habitual foundation, you will be so much more attractive in over the long term, because you do the habits right and don't fuck up your development in any way. But there is, of course, this is not everything you have to do or can do, but this is like a good foundation you can start with, and there will more videos coming from me on the topic of Looksmaxxing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.